I need those handcuffs back by Friday.
Okay, I'll be sure.
You're on the air.
Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Gutfeld, along with Kimberly Guilfoyle, Bob Beckel, Eric Bowling, and she's an honorary Keebler elf. It's Dana Perino. This is The Five. It sounds like a Common Core math problem. 5 high-risk terrorists for 1 mysterious hostage. The Taliban called it a victory, but then again for them, so is a drunk goat under a blanket. Still, many are left scratching their heads over this trade, and not just those with lice. Now, we're all happy for the Bergdahl family, but what of the message, which is, catch one of us, get 5 of yours back? And what else did we give them? We're dealing with mobsters on mules, after all. And why these 5 specific guys? They weren't working in HR. We've been told that Islamophobia only increases violence worldwide. But you can say the same thing about this. When some of these fiends get out, they will kill our men. The past proves this. This release also reveals our president to be a pretty lousy poker player, telegraphing intentions even before entering the casino. What did he telegraph? That we're out of here, done, back to tackling the harsh realities of bullying. It could be worse. Like Obama, the Taliban might have wanted everyone out of Gitmo. We're lucky they only got 5. So how does America win from a trade like this? Hopefully it's not a trade at all. In poker, it's a bluff. This exchange of live bodies should only be called a success if, weeks from now, theirs end up dead. I'd call that a fair trade. Kimberly, that's my suggestion. And why won't they do this? If they're now in Qatar, which is, I believe, the country, why don't we just drone them? That would be hilarious.
I'd like to think that we're going to keep a very close eye on their whereabouts and pick them off like fleas off of a deserving dog and rid the dog of the fleas. That's what I'm hoping, that we're smart enough to be able to figure that out, that these guys are not going to be able to come back and hurt and harm our, men and women that are serving. So that would be justice. So let's keep an eye on that. But in terms of the overall situation here, there's a lot that we don't know. So I just want to say that I think we need to get all the information about what happened here, what happened under the circumstances of when he wandered off, what were the exact, the context before we kind of rush to judgment on this. It's something that they're already going to do an investigation on. They did an investigation prior, but having my source that spoke directly, with the father has accumulated, according to him, we don't know if what he's saying is true, significant information showing that his son was kidnapped. And I think the other information I have is that this individual was kind of ostracized from his unit and was not well liked. Doesn't make any excuse for him wandering off, but I think that he's going to have to answer to that 6 months after this reintegration takes place.
Eric, Chuck Hagel says the deal saved his life, but the Daily News is calling it a Taliban victory. What do you think?
Here's what I think. I think droning is out of the question. We negotiated with these guys. They're terrorists. They're terrorists, and we negotiate with terrorists. So all that BS about we don't do that, we clearly do that. So I'm trying to figure out, are they, the administration, happy about the 1 or the 5? I'm not really sure. Or is it 6 jihadists that they let go? Because everyone that you speak to, including the people who are in his unit, said he purposefully walked away from, he was on a post. He was on apparently a guard post. When his shift ended, he came back and asked his commander if he could bring his gun with him and leave, and the commander said no. So he left his gun, took a compass and a canteen, and walked. So if that's the case, and if that is, and we've heard from 3 separate people that served with him who said the same thing, that he wandered off. Here's the big question, though.
What was his purpose and intention?
Before he did this, before he did this now, this is really important. He emailed his parents with these quotes. Now, these aren't speculation. This is conjecture. This is we understand his parents to have been emailed from Bowe Bergdahl. Quote, "I'm ashamed to be an American. The U.S. Army is the biggest joke in the world, and the horror that is America is disgusting." So if that man sends those notes to his parents, granted private emails, and then walks off, and then there's a deal negotiated for him, who's the bigger fool here? Or is it who's played for the fool? Is it us or them? By the way, they got 5 back. We got 1 that is disgusted with America.
But the point, Dane, it doesn't matter at this point if he's just spent 5 years. I can't imagine a hell worse than that. If he was disillusioned, unhappy, there are a lot of people in the military that are unhappy, obviously. Does it matter about his intentions when he walked off 5 years ago at this point?
I think to understand the full story, it does. And this is what I think. These 2 things can be true, and they're not at odds with one another. You can have compassion for Bergdahl himself and for his family. You can also have compassion for those soldiers who lost their lives and their families in the search for him after he left, because even if he wasn't liked by them, they still searched for him, and 6 of them lost their lives. In addition, I don't think it is unreasonable for the American people, including the Congress, to expect some more information from the White House, which in itself was in conflict with Susan Rice saying he was a hostage, Jay Carney today saying he was not. They seem to have not been aware of the Pentagon report in 2010, or maybe they were and we just aren't. There is a lot to be understood about this, including what happens to the rest of the people, terrorists being held at Gitmo.
Yeah.
Because if you will release 5 under Qatar, and it's not that you're releasing them where they have to stay in jail in Qatar, they have to basically stay in Qatar or gutter, however you say it. I say Qatar, some people say gutter, I don't know, tomato, whatever, that place over there. But they only have to be there for 1 year. I'm sure that we'll try to keep a close eye on them, but as you suggested, the recidivism rate for terrorists leaving Gitmo, actually they're almost sometimes more deadly after they've left than they were the first time around.
Bob, who got the better of the deal?
Well, first of all, let's try to put some things in context. The United States military does not leave one of their own anywhere, whatever the circumstances, and they haven't. We have left some people. But in this case, somebody that you know is alive, and they went after looking for him. The other thing that I think we have to be careful about here is we don't know. People are pretty loose-lipped here about condemning this guy. We don't know the situation. If he really was a deserter, and they knew that, then he should be in jail awaiting the military court of justice to deal with him. But he's not. So that's the second thing I would say. And the third thing I would say about negotiating with terrorists, we are negotiating with, these are all terrorist states. These nation states are nothing but terrorists. I mean, they harbor these people. They do the rest. So we're not really negotiating with terrorists. Yeah.
What state is Taliban? What country does Taliban reside in? Because that's who we negotiated with.
Well, we negotiated through the Pakistanis, as far as I know, the Qatars.
And we didn't even alert the Afghanis.
Here's my point. Yes, we did use the Qatar infrastructure to negotiate, but we're not negotiating with another state. We're negotiating with the enemy, with a terrorist group, the Taliban. There is no state of Taliban.
As far as I'm concerned, Islamic terrorists pretty much control most of the countries in the Mideast.
Yeah, but we're not negotiating with Iran or Iraq or
if you were,
or
you would
Jordan
be negotiating with Islamic terrorists.
KG's
okay,
got
but
a point.
the problem is the optics of this situation are, bad, left, right, and center. Bottom line is, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, we don't even know if the proper protocol was followed. One, he is an American. He should be brought back here regardless to determine what exactly happened, and then after this period of reintegration, they can deal with what exactly were his intentions. I'm sure he's going to come back and say, I had no intention of deserting. I also know about him is that he was someone who was very into the special forces, really wanted to be a Navy SEAL, in fact, worked at a shooting range that the SEALs all used to shoot at, and he was dismissed from that job, as a caretaker there. So this was someone who was very enamored with counterinsurgency, counterintelligence, special forces units, and also what I heard is he was a little bit not happy with the unit that he was in and was trying to do some things on his own. Perhaps that might be an explanation. I don't know. I'm horrified that people died trying to look for him. If he was trying to go out on his own to do that, that's also inappropriate and not okay, but we don't know yet. But what I also don't like is just how this whole thing went down. As for his father, my source also told me, was going to go over there to try and negotiate the release of his son on his own because he was so frustrated. You see the father with the long hair, the beard. He was advised that was a bad idea. The father was trying to learn the language to be able to go over there to communicate to save his son.
Well, let me ask you all a question. Let's assume for a moment he was a deserter. Should we not have gone after and tried to get him out?
Of course.
I think we did try. That's why 6 people are dead.
But should we trade 5 high-level Taliban operatives for a guy who may have been a deserter?
Would you leave them there and have a United States soldier?
No, I would continue to do what you were trying to do. Find them, drone them, negotiate, get it, but don't trade 5 dangerous. It's like giving 5 of their top commanders back. And Dana points out that, forget the recidivism rate, these guys, is there any question these guys are going to kill again?
Let me ask you this. If they had kidnapped General Petraeus, right, and held him for 5 years.
I'm not doing the straw man. I'm not.
All right, well, take any U.S. soldier.
Okay, here's a question that also has to be answered that's not clear yet, and hopefully it will be, which is that if it is true that attacks in that area increase with frequency and that there were even additional lives lost in America, because we know the casualty rate goes up in 2010, what information, if any, either willfully or under duress, did he provide to the enemy?
Well, that's
something worth
such
knowing.
a leading question, and putting that on the table suggests...
Why is that not a reasonable question to find out?
You're taking a leap about an increase in violence, and this guy wandering off a post.
Well,
is this fair to
is
this
it not
kid?
unreasonable to try to find out what the answer is? And I don't think he's a kid, he's a man. He joined the military.
There are procedures to find these things out, and they're not around a table like this.
But the point is, you're not supposed to wander off good intentions or bad, because it jeopardizes the integrity and the safety of the unit that you serve with, which can cause lives. So regardless, maybe he's paid his price.
But you're
like
leaping
you
to
said,
conclusions
Greg.
about what the result of his wandering off was.
We don't know that.
And I'm saying that that's something you can't do.
The other thing, too, is...
Well, you can, but I mean...
The game that the administration plays with language, that not calling him a hostage, calling him a prisoner of war, it suggests that you only exchange prisoners of war when the war is over, but we're the only side that's saying the war is over.
That's not so.
No, we're basically telegraphing that the war is over, but they're never going to stop killing us. We're calling them prisoners. We're exchanging prisoners of war.
We exchanged in Iraq.
But look at the timing of this, because we're pulling out. So we're not going to leave him there, and then also, it's just the whole thing is very suspect.
We call them hostages.
Is anyone else a little bit skeptical about the father with the beard? The father speaking Pashtun because he's afraid his son forgot English in 5 years in captivity. Listen, I may be wrong, but in 5 years, I'm pretty sure I'm going to remember how to speak English, even if I'm in captivity.
His argument will be...
What does the suspicion mean? That he's got a beard and therefore he's pro-Islam? I mean, what are you trying to get to here?
He's speaking an Islamic language to his son, who...
The dad was going to go over there and negotiate the release of his son.
Maybe I'm nuts, Bob, but it's just not adding up. When stuff doesn't add up, it usually doesn't add up.
It's a rush to judgment, or at least an illusion. You're alluding to something that is absolutely unprovable.
If you didn't see your son for 5 years and you thought he was somewhere in a foreign country where they spoke a different language, would you try and learn that language because you thought you couldn't communicate with him?
To negotiate for his release?
I think
no, he was already released.
I think he will argue that it was a form of outreach, I think is what he's going to say. But the one thing that he did mention was about a book. And that's what kind of got to me, was the idea that there will be a book coming out.
Yeah,
and
a book deal.
It's Homeland, season 3.
Yeah. There you go. But what would you do if you were a father and you thought this could help?
I would want to go over there too, and I would try and learn the language and try and negotiate.
I couldn't grow a beard like that.
No one disputes. The father is a highly intelligent individual. So is the son. The son was learning the 3 different languages of the area they were in. The whole thing is very suspicious and bizarre, but we have to find out all the facts.
People who know the facts so far have not had this guy arrested. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, they negotiated.
That's all you need to know.
They gave away prisoners to get him out.
And also we have a report of non-disclosure agreements so that we can never know, which I don't think that's not going to be acceptable to anybody, bipartisan members of the Congress.
All right, we got to move. Okay, kids.